Record it.
Record.
Boom! Never happened if we didn't record it. All right. Welcome. Live from New York, it's Moxie. Live. It's currently 28 degrees out and snowing, but we're here ready to rock. Yeah, it's not snowing, but at this point, I know none of you would be surprised if it was. Today, I'm joined by Elaine, the last millennial cook, and Kevin. Walt Whitman Busto is back after a short hiatus and an incident with a toe. Our special guest
is that what we went with?
Stanley Wilson, and you might recognize Stanley from such films as Rock and Rolla, Snacks, and my favorite, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Lamps. Born in the foothills of Yorkshire, Stanley is here to tell us about how he had a falling out with Guy Ritchie and got into the lighting business. But before we get into that, as always, Moxie Lighting, state of the stuff. I'm going to kick this over to Kevin. Welcome back to the show, Kevin. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
The state of the stuff. Thanks,
Oh,
buddy.
God. Well, thank you for the warm welcome back. It's good to be back.
I love the t-shirt, by the way.
I miss everybody. Yes, I had to throw this on. I was going to do the black one. Felt a little more professional. I was worried about clashing, but I couldn't find it. So I'm going with this really, really smart blue one. Thank you very much, Stanley. Thank you. You too, but I know you weren't fishing. All right, so I'm going to share my screen to share my state of the stuff. And let's see, make sure it's the right screen. And share. So this week I want to talk very, very briefly about Pepper Lighting. They're a new brand for us at Moxie. We have them for the whole state, I think. Matt, nod. Okay, good. Wasn't sure if I could confirm that. So they are a Turkish company. They provide a lot of really interesting solutions. Pepperlighting.com. They have a worldwide website that is available in English and all sorts of other fun languages. But you know, English is going to be the one we're going to use today. So just to jump ahead a little bit, because my Pepper Lighting is still admittedly a little bit thin. We have a training coming up soon that I'm very much looking forward to with our team led by Merit Erdogan, great young dude who I believe is based in New York. And I've talked to a few times. He's been super helpful. They're a great brand. They've been great to work with so far. So it's just going to get better from here. So here's their product selector technical area on their website. Let's look at bollards, because who doesn't love saying that word out loud? They have some really interesting form factors. As you can see, I'm not going to dive into the technical stuff. I couldn't, even if I wanted to. Road lighting luminaires, a lot of really interesting form factors. This is a design-led brand, but the performance to match. Really, we're going to probably dive into these guys in a few weeks with Pepper, and probably have one or two people from the company there. So looking very much forward to that. But that's all I've got for right now. State of the stuff, Pepper Lighting.
Thanks, Kev. Yeah, they have a cool wall wash optic that we'll get into. That's kind of their bread and butter. Elaine, I can't remember. You're just coming on for one cool thing.
Sure, that can be my thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's get into the heart of it, because really we're all just here to hear Stanley talk, and irrespective of what he has to say, it'll at least sound cool. Hey, bud. Welcome to the show. You look good. You're all branded out. You're all kitted out. I like it.
Is that what the cultural significance is of English brands?
What
Like
was
their
that?
sound?
Yeah. It's just cooler.
I'm going to do my best to not let you down. But,
I appreciate it.
You couldn't.
Actually, one of our attendees, Jesse, he's met Stanley before a few times. I met Stanley and the Factorylux team back in 2018 at Light and Build. Got introduced to them through another friend, a small company that was doing something pretty interesting at the time in terms of how they were integrating Zacato into their product. We'll get into that further. But Stanley is obviously, he's the CEO. I'm going to let him share your story about how you got started and where you guys kind of are now, and then we'll circle into a little bit of a conversation about circular economy. So Stanley, you're up, buddy.
how long have I got to talk about where I came from?
72 hours.
5 minutes.
You
This is
got
the
it.
pot of history that
Yep.
we began actually salvaging lighting out of an old redundant textile mill in the UK. I don't know how it works in America because it's such a bigger place, but in the UK, basically the South has got money and the North is poor. And historically, the North is where a lot of stuff got made. But in recent times, that's become very much not the case. So a lot of these mills and factories are everywhere. It's not kind of Detroit, because it never was so affluent and awesome. But these industrial spaces are empty now, and there's no purpose for them so much. So we were taking the lighting out of those places and cleaning it up and rewiring it and selling it on. That's how I got into it. This is like 15 years ago. And then very quickly it became apparent that there was a finite supply of this stuff, right? And specifiers, architects, lighting designers, interior designers, design professionals needed to understand that this stuff was available and that they could put it on a project, and in a year's time it would be available and supplyable. So we quickly evolved into manufacturing. And I guess you can say that at that point we were a decorative lighting manufacturer, because it was all about what this kit looks like, right? And there was a really huge unstoppable cultural pull towards things from the past. Every bar, restaurant, store you went into, people wanted it to look like an old factory, and we were very happy about that because it's what we did. So we grew quite quickly. We blew everything that we ever earned out of that business on building this factory, and really drilling down into like proper manufacturing by starting with a blank canvas. And we're very motivated by a lot of social and environmental commitments, because that's who we are as people. Me and myself, Sophie, my wife, my partner, who set this up, that's what gets us out of bed in the morning. And this company is employee co-owned, so that's a little bit unusual. We shared the ownership of it with the team who work here. We've taken some of those original form factors and design themes and evolved it into an architectural lighting product. So we've got a gonio photometer and a lab, and people understand photometry, and the website has got a lot of photometry information and the kind of stuff that professional specifiers need, especially lighting designers. We really sort of drill down on the needs of lighting designers, and we assume on the back of that architects, engineers, interior designers are sort of falling behind them. So starting salvage, and then kind of remaking salvage, and then remaking the remakes of salvage to bring them up to full photometry spec. And then it kind of, I guess, in the last, is it just short of 2 years since we met you, Matteo? In that time, things have maybe taken another step away from that original, those designs that were informed by the old factories into really this stone rumbled aluminium. It's a big thing for us. A lot of the products that we design and build and put out there are coming at it from this circular economy perspective, which I think we're going to talk about in a while. And we've looked very carefully at how to re-engineer the product to make circular economy kind of work on a new and what we believe to be a higher level. So that's changed a little bit, the sort of look and feel of the products. That's where we're at today. That's where we came from. Is that enough information? Do you want some more? Should we have a look at the page? Is that useful?
I found a part of the website I wanted to show real quick because I didn't know this was up there. So I'm going to share my screen real quick just so everybody can see this, because there's my dumb face.
Hey.
With a bunch of the Factorylux crew and actually some of the Arab crew from, was it Ireland they came in from?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, that's a while ago now, isn't it? Oh, well,
yeah.
look at
this is us in the Ganio room. There's a nice little coffee mug shot.
That was in the olden days when people could hang out together.
Yeah.
Look at that, social distancing.
And then I think This one shows a really good kind of a quick shot of the actual factory in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
This is the building you bought and converted.
Yeah.
And actually, if you ever get a chance when things maybe go back to normal to visit Factorylux, if you have a project or something like that, there's really nowhere to stay in the town. So you stay right here in the factory in a cardboard box.
It's a very luxurious cardboard box.
I don't know if you have a picture of that cardboard box somewhere. And there's this really cool hike you get to go on in classic, looks like Northern English weather. But it really is, it's kind of right. And Stanley, I'll let you speak to this. It's a little bit more than just a factory. It really is kind of a home.
We're super privileged that we live in the place where the book Wuthering Heights, did that make it over the pond to America? You guys ever heard of Wuthering Heights? So that's set where we are, and the scenery is pretty stunning. Maybe it's even more stunning than the lighting equipment that we make. So it would be rude to have visitors to this factory and not take them out into the Wuthering Heights countryside. And it's a win. When the weather's good, it's great, and when the weather's bad, it's great. It's a win-win, and there's some great pubs in the hidden away, you know, in the countryside around where we are, where, you know, walking's great, but it's even nicer when you end up at a nice pub with a fire lit and all the rest of it. Yeah.
So I love the story of kind of how you got into lighting, because I think everybody can come into this industry from a lot of different areas. And you were playing in a band, and you were in a warehouse, right? And you kind of.
So even before that, right?
Yeah.
So these towns in the north of England that were once prosperous, right? They're now oftentimes people call them crap towns because they've kind of fallen on hard times, right? So I grew up in a crap town, and when I left school, because I didn't go to college, I looked at the companies that were in the town who were doing the most interesting stuff, and there was a concert lighting company. So that's how I got into lighting. I wrote them a letter and said, I'm leaving school and I'm desperate to come and work for you. And actually it took nearly 2 years of hassling them, but eventually I got a break there. So that's actually how I got into lighting. And then I took some time out to do the band a little bit later, maybe between 5 and 10 years later. And then when I was in that band, we needed a place to rehearse and, you know, argue about the name of the band and all the things that bands do. And we rented one of those mills, and we lived in it in tents. There's a picture of it somewhere. I wish I had it to hand, of us living in tents, because the roof was leaking and it was cold and there were all pigeons in there and all the rest of it. So we were living in there, and that's when we came across this lighting, right? Because when fluorescent came out in the UK, that was in the 50s, early 60s. Maybe in America it was a little bit earlier, because my understanding is that you're ahead of the UK when it comes to technology. Then the mill owners could see and understand the cost savings of energy efficiency. When fluorescent came out, it was as big a story as LED, you know, was 5-10 years ago. It was the energy efficiency and the longevity and the life of it was just, it was compelling. But whereas in a normal commercial application, like a shop or a restaurant, you'd obviously take out the old lighting equipment before you install the new stuff. The mill owners never bothered. They just left it in. They didn't care what it looked like. It was just money. So they left it all in and then put fluorescent next to it. So there's actually a huge quantity of original industrial lighting, and because it was very well made with this vitreous enamel glass finish, right? There's examples of vitreous enamel that they've got from ancient Egypt that still look absolutely mint, right? Because that's just pure glass on steel. That's what vitrification means. So these what you call is it RMLs?
Yeah.
That look with the vitreous enamel finish, it's like an artifact that survives because it's not paint, it's glass, and you give them a rub down and they look as good as the day that they were the day they were made. So that actually, just to drill down to the detail, is how I got involved in it. lighting originally, and then this product range. Yeah.
Come on, there we go. I think that's a good segue, Stanley, to talk into the second part of this intro, which is circular economy, right? Because enamel is one of the things that you started with, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're getting away from for certain reasons.
Yeah. So circular economy is it's a very imprecise term. You know, people band it around circular economy, circular. Everyone knows it's good, but nobody really understands exactly what it means, right? So there's three kinds of circular economy. There's that kind, where you go in an old mill in Bradford, Yorkshire, not Bradford, Pennsylvania, wherever it is on your side of the pond. You take an old light, give it a wipe down and think, oh, this is still pretty good. I can find a purpose for this. The electrical wiring's all short, so let me fix that up and put it back on the market. Yeah, I don't know what you would call that. Maybe upcycling, right? That's circular economy. Then you've got the kind of circular economy which is prevalent now, right? In Europe we call it WEEE, W-E-E-E. It's a government stipulation that manufacturers take care of what they've made. And my feeling is that it's extremely lacking in imagination, right? When it was written 15 years ago, maybe it was crazy, fresh and inventive, but I don't find that to be the case now. So manufacturers pay a small percentage of the weight of what they manufacture to the government, and then the government reallocate that money to schemes who take that, and that shade would be ground down back into steel, because it's a composite material, right? Vitrification, you've got glass on steel. Glass is not very valuable. Steel is not very valuable either, but it's worth a bit more than glass. So that'll be all smashed up and returned to its state, and the electrical wire would be stripped out, and the copper would go in the copper bin, the PVC would be burnt off or whatever. So when people think of circular economy in the UK, they're thinking of that. It's like, I chuck it not in the bin to go in landfill, but it's going to be like broken down into pieces of its raw material, and that there'll be people who are sort of incentivized, either because the cost of the raw material is enough, like copper, or because the government are paying me, like with compact fluorescence, for example, to manage that waste correctly, because the aim is to not end up in the in landfill, right? That's what people here think of as circular economy. And I think it is better than throwing it in a hole in the ground or incinerating it. I think everybody agrees on that. But is it as good as it could be? No way, not even close, right? And in the UK, when I was a kid growing up, when you bought beer or pop, soda, right? It comes in a glass bottle. This is when I was a kid. I'm 44 this year, so this is some time ago. That's not how it works now. Those glass bottles had a deposit on them. They went back to the factory, and they weren't considered to be second. When they came back with beer in them, beer in a second-hand bottle. It's a bit inferior. Or an upcycled bottle. So, it's upcycled. It just was a bottle, right? It was as good as a new one, but a reused one because it had been cleaned. There's incredible energy efficiency savings to be made on that version of circular economy. You save a lot of transport, and that transport is a huge source of pollution in the UK. The existing WEEE arrangement is shipping raw materials around. Then you've got the energy efficiency of melting it all down. For example, you've got a load of copper wire that you want to turn into copper ingots or raw copper for industry and for manufacturers. A hell of a lot of energy goes into that, and there's a lot of waste. Electrical wire, the copper's worth a lot of money, but guess what? The PVC sleeve isn't. What happens to the PVC sleeve? Well, let's not talk about that, because it probably actually does end up in being incinerated, actually. So what we've tried to explore is, with our version of circular economy, is what we kind of think of as being full circular economy, right? Which, going back to those soda bottles, it's a way that the manufacturer can have a deposit on the product to say, here's the product, you buy it, and when you're done with it, we'll buy it back from you, because we're going to buy it back at a price that means that we're not having to replace it with actual new material. And then we're going to find a way to process that, to stop it from being secondhand, because the curse of circular economy is the perceived deterioration in value of things that are secondhand, right? Because people are secondhand, I like secondhand, I want to pay less for it. That doesn't work for us as a manufacturer, right? So this finish here, if I just open this box, can you see that?
Yeah. This is a good plug to say that you've always packaged your product without plastic.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty fucking weird if we went to the trouble that I'm describing to launch this version of circular economy and we did it in a plastic, in a plastic bag. So yeah, we're big on card and cardboard engineering, right? So this product, I don't know whether you can see that on Zoom.
Great.
This product is called Margot. This is a pendant version of a product that's available in as a spotlight, you know, for track and monopoints. So this finish, which has kind of got a texture, right? It's kind of, we call it stone rumble, like the jeans, right? Like Levi stone rumble jeans. And it's better to describe, it's more kind of textural, right? It's a little bit kind of matte. And this is a subtractive finish. So paint, enamel, powder coat, varnishes, all that kind of junk. That's all additive, right? You're adding something to it. And like I was saying, the curse of circular economy is composite materials. It's very hard to deal with composite materials. It's very expensive, and there's always waste, and that waste has to be burnt or chucked in a hole in the ground. This subtractive finish is like polishing. It's not shiny polishing, but it's like polishing. There's a machine downstairs in this factory that's like a big vat of stones that shakes, and you put parts in for whatever period of time you're looking to get that finish on. But what it means is, this, just to tie up the circular economy thing, because it's actually quite simple to understand, that number one, this product is made in such a way as that it can be disassembled easily using standard tools. We call that right to repair. That's becoming quite a thing here. It's like a subculture that's saying people who make stuff should make it possible to take it apart easily and quickly and cost effectively, because that means it can be repaired or it can be reused or it can be, whatever the end of life outcome, is always better when the product can be easily dismantled, right? So number one is there's no glue, there's no rivets, there's no welds, there's no permanent fixings or semi-permanent fixings in here. It's just screws, nuts, bolts. It's like Meccano. Did you get Meccano in America? Like the kids, it's like a kid's kind of engineering set with nuts and bolts and stuff.
I had it. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's because Canada is got like a kind of different cultural connection.
Might be more the engineering family than it is the Canada part, but yeah.
Be a mix.
So phase one is that this can be easily dismantled, right? And that we call that right to repair. And then once it has been dismantled, we can reprocess it using this stone rumbling process, right? And what that means is that when it comes out of that machine, I could give you a microscope and a brand new one and a reprocessed used one, and you cannot tell the difference. It is exactly the same. There's no loss in value to it. Now the downside is that's what it looks like. And for a lot of specifiers, you know, they're serving the needs of their masters like we all are. You know, there's always the person with the checkbook at the top of the pyramid. And so far, this isn't the biggest part of what we do, right? Because people still want red lights or black lights or white lights. And of course, you know, we've got mortgages to pay and kids to feed and all the rest of it. But we're making a strong pitch for that. And with the 99 version of it, which is the smaller. This is like a high lumen output spotlight. It's a little bit more complex because it's a two-part assembly. But our kind of entry level, more minimalist looking spotlight, which we call the 99, which is all over the website. It's our best selling product. And now we're heading towards half of all of those specifications being of this stone rumbled finish. And it's not 100, that would be perfect, but we're halfway there, and we're taking that as a big step forward, because at the risk of being a walking cliche, we're trying to be part of the solution. And that, in terms of circular economy manufacturing, means thinking where we're going to be in 1, 2, 5, 10 years time. And in the UK and Europe, it's clear that we're heading in that direction. For sure, in my lifetime, this kind of stuff is going to become totally normal, because the environmental, social, and economic cost of waste is going to become an obstacle to doing it any other way. So as a manufacturer, we might as well be getting on it now and promoting it, because why the hell wouldn't you? Did that make sense?
That was awesome. We had one question come in from Mr. Coletta, who said, obviously the system is fantastic for the environment. Why aren't all businesses run this way, and how do you make it work for Factorylux? Also, hi, Stanley.
Hi. It's funny that you'd think, being a business owner, that you'd have really good insight into the hearts and minds of other business owners and other manufacturers in particular. But actually, I don't get to meet a lot of manufacturers. Very, very unusually, I went to visit a company who you guys might or might not have heard of, called Stone Lighting, who come out of Scotland. And they're a really incredible, they're one of those companies who've been around since way back when architectural lighting technology and fixtures were being invented. And they unusually are the only other employee co-owned lighting manufacturer in the UK. So we've existed, us here, because we're in the north of England, and they're even further north in Scotland, right? So we're not, the North England and Scotland aren't the same place, but they're sort of culturally connected. And we've seen them there, and they've seen us here, and we've seen them there, and we're aware of their existence, and no doubt they're aware of ours. And then one day I just picked up the phone and said, look, this is crazy, let's meet and be friends and talk to each other. And we're not competitors, really. We're too tiny. The lighting equipment industry is worth $1 trillion, and we're just these two tiny little specks. It would be so stupid for us to be fighting each other. And I went there, and we talked a lot about circular economy to try and unpick what we can do about it together. And they've got this fantastic scheme, because they were around during the halogen era. They've got something crazy, £5 million worth of halogen powered spotlights out there. And they've converted a van that they pull up outside a venue, let's say an art gallery, right, who don't want to be without lighting for any period of time. They take the lights out one by one and retrofit an LED package into the existing light, and then get it back up in the air. So, bit of a long answer to that, but what I'm saying is, I only know of one other company, right, who have been inside and walked around inside their factories, because a lot of light manufacturers would be very, very uncomfortable with another lighting manufacturer being inside their space. And they are doing some great work on circular economy. I don't know why, but the only two companies in the UK, lighting equipment manufacturers in the UK, who are employee co-owned, are also the only two lighting equipment manufacturers I'm aware of who are doing really important work with circular economy. But I guess it's you've got to ask the question, what's the relationship to profit? And this company is legally exists to make a profit, but not only a profit. We're here to do good as well, and it's the same for those guys. But maybe other companies where their primary pursuit is profit, maybe because they've got difficult shareholders or a lot of debt or whatever, or they've got a big yacht to pay. I don't know what their business is, but for us here, I think that we take decisions that are not only profit is important. We're a private business, and we have to work commercially, but it's not the only consideration.
That was awesome. Much appreciated. I think what we're going to do is it's a good time to kind of hit intermission. So
Yeah, great.
We're going to do our.
Can I go get an ice cream?
Yeah, of course. We're going to do our quick sponsorship. But before we do that, you mentioned something about how they've got a van that just goes around and fixes things, right?
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, you used to have a van.
All the cool companies have vans.
Yeah.
Can I?
And
I think
I wanted to share this real quick, just so people get an appreciation for our friend Stanley here. Can you guys see this? And hopefully you can all hear this, but
just now.
They made a song.
We have a truck on the road. We have a truck on the road. We have a truck on the road. You better link me for a truck on the road. We have a truck on the road. We have a truck on the road. Have one big bad stick truck.
Oh, I love that. If I remember correctly, Stanley, that van you used to go around and let people make light fixtures in the van.
We did all kinds of stuff. I mean, that was one thing we did. Drinking a lot of beer was another. And the van had a roof terrace. We built it ourselves, and it had a lot of structural steel work in it. So sometimes we would just start having a cold beer, looking down on the world. But the point of the van was, the north of England's a great place to manufacture. London is a great place to specify, and we needed a way to get there. That's the way we did it.
All right, I'm going to stop quickly for this week's sponsor, and then I'm going to kick it over to Elaine for one cool thing, and then you're going to be back up, Stanley, to talk a little bit about products, actual products and application.
Awesome.
Today, the show is actually sponsored by Keanu Reeves, who knew a guy who killed so many people in films could be so nice. That's our sponsorship. And Elaine, you are up for one cool thing.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so today I am sharing, I'm going to share my screen, 1 second. Share a story. So every Friday during the quarantine, my parents and I make pasta. And so I was introduced to Vicki Benison's channel called Pasta Grannies. Over the past 4 years, she has filmed over 200 nonnas in Italy, kind of explaining how they make their own unique pasta. Every nonna or grandmother, as it's called in America and Canada, make their pasta differently in Italy, and it's kind of fun to see the slight differences across the entire country. So this is Vicki here. When she moved to Italy 4 years ago, she wanted to help share all these different grandmothers' recipes. So she created this Facebook, or not Facebook page, website and YouTube channel where she's filmed some pretty fantastic grandmas and how they cook their particular pasta. So I thought I'd share this for anyone that's wanting to kind of try something new in their kitchen. Pasta is actually really easy to make and doesn't take that many ingredients. Even my parents let me help cooking or cook them. And if you've tuned in before, you know I'm not the best cook. So even if I can do it, you guys can do it. And they have a really cool cookbook that I've ordered as a surprise for my family. So if you guys want something new in quarantine, check out Pasta Grannies. That's it. That was kind of my showcase for this week.
That was awesome.
Hey.
Nice. I had no idea you were going to share that. I also like the fact that in your YouTube subscriptions, it goes Pasta Grannies, Moxie Lighting, Taylor Swift, The Tonight Show. So I'm just happy that we beat out Taylor Swift. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you beat out T-Swizzle. It's hard to do.
Gotta be careful when you're sharing stuff. You never know what someone's gonna pick up on.
You gotta be careful. Yeah.
By
the way, really quickly, Lynn, can you drop links in the chat for everybody for those? Because I kind of want to check that website out.
I'm excited to show that. I feel like I got to get maybe my dad to dress up as a pasta grandma
and do his recipes.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Please do.
And Amazon has really good pasta, I don't know what they're called, but the pasta turners where you flatten them out. Very, like, I think my sister bought my parents one for like $20 and it's been with us for the past like 15 years. So they're worth the investment.
And they're also incredible for revitalizing hardened modeling clay that you
Yes.
left outside of the packet. You just run it through a few times and it's like new.
Oh, finally a solution for that problem that we all have all the time.
Stanley, it doesn't surprise me that you don't have a ton of different hacks for one thing to use for another. But that makes sense as someone who builds something for a living. So I think that's a good transition to get over and actually talk a little bit about the product, a couple of the families, talk about some applications, and then depending on how much time we have, maybe we'll get you to pick that computer up and just show us a little bit of the factory and open it up to Q&A. Cool?
Cool, yeah. Where do you want me to start?
We can start. I think the best way to do this probably is, unless you got some stuff in front of you, we'll do it through the website, and we'll take people through the Reflector series real quick, the Margot, the 99 spot, and we'll talk about Zaccato. Look at that. Hey, is that plastic, bud?
This is for shipping, yeah. This is a permanent.
All right, cool.
So that's
Cardboard
the gig.
onions. Yeah, I'm excited for those to come to the US.
That's what the sales team take out on the road. But I agree with you that it's actually logical to do it on the website rather than like holding up stuff. So shall I just screen share and go to the website?
Go for it. And we'll talk about the kind of the four main products, and then
you made me feel really nervous now, Matteo, about sharing your websites and stuff. You know, like being inadvertently.
What else you got up there, bud?
I'm not sure what I've got to hide, so I'm just going to plow on with it. And let's see. Great. So can you see that? That's our website, right?
Yep.
That's a younger and more handsome me.
I love that first photo.
Taking this logically a step at a time, let's begin on the left-hand side and look at spotlights, of which there are two variants, 99 and Margot. In a nutshell, this one is more cost-effective and simpler, but got a lower lumen output. This one costs a little bit more. It's a little bit more complex, and it's got a higher lumen output, right? So 99 is a very simple form. Let's look at the stone rumbled version, because that's the one that I've been talking about. So on the website, if you're specifying, you've got the various quick info that you might need there, some dimensional stuff, you know, at a glance. And the concept of the website, just while we're here, I might as well explain it. So our background was in decorative light in e-commerce, right? When we were pulling stuff out of that old mill, we were putting it on the internet. We started out on eBay originally. So e-commerce is actually kind of baked in, and this website is built on a platform called Magento, which is really standard on e-com. So the way it sort of looks and feels, it's like you're buying, I don't know, a pair of jeans or a pair of shoes or something, because that's, you know, what this technology was designed and built for. It's really great. It's optimized really well for different devices and whatnot. So here's a selection of mounting types. There's monopoint, obviously, because a lot of the products often is that, or can be used with various different track adapters for third-party proprietary systems. We do a lot of stuff ourselves with Stucky. So if you come to us and say we want it on track, we would recommend Stucky, because that's a product that it's a good balance for us between price and technology, but we're open to what people need. There's a bunch of
Stanley, would that be like U-Track or Global Track or
anything?
Yeah.
Anything that can be bought,
Yep.
it can be, we can work out the engineering requirement for it. You know, if you wanted one light and it was a complex engineering headache, that would be not our favorite project, but we'll take anything. Dimming options, the module inside is Zaccato, which I think is well understood in the US, and obviously you've got a whole plethora of options there between the standard and the artist range, for example, depending on whether you're looking for price and output or quality. Color temperature, obviously these modules come in a bunch of different options. This is an optic that clips nicely and neatly into the front, giving you some different beam angles. Lumen output we've talked about is capped at 2000. It's not such a high power spotlight, but you know, works in a lot of examples. And here's some more optics, and all the photometry files, lambda IES files can be shared for these combinations. All the standard stuff's already on here to download. Here there's data sheets and photometry and whatnot. And of course, if there's some wacky or different combination that you want the files on, we've got our own gonio photometer lab here. If you send us a request in the morning, we'll have it back to you in the afternoon. So that's the 99, and I'm just going to quickly show you, because there's a project page here, and you will find that most of the projects on this page have got the 99 because it's our best-selling product. A sort of quintessential application for it would be, look, here's an integral version, right? So the driver's in that box. Here we've got I think they're XIM, which is the other Zaccato option. Looking down here, this is a sort of quintessential 99 installation. You see up there, you've got all the industrial open ceiling stuff, the conduit, the sprinklers, and those stone rumbled 99s are a very utilitarian look. If we just go back to the product, go and see a remote version. You see here the way these corners are folded, right? They're not welded. These are the Meccano style that Elaine knows so well. It's really bolted together. But if you need a bit more poke, you
can see the honeycomb louver accessory on that photo you actually just showed, which is good.
Yeah. You need some more poke, then we're going to look at the Margot. So that's the light that I just showed you, that I held up to the camera, right? This is the monopoint version. And here are the vitreous enamel options. So let's just have a look at that. And same kind of gig, but if we look at the chip lumens, so we go up to 3000 with this. The Zaccato warranty is so excellent. This color shift warranty, right? So that if you got 50 in a row in a high-end retail store, and you want to make sure that in 5-10 years that they're all still bang on color-wise, because that's the issue with LED, right? It's not what it looks like on day one; it's what it looks like on day 5000. You got to manage the thermals of it, and it's just simply a bigger fitting with a bigger heatsink on it, which means that we can run the Zaccato module higher. You've also got, because it's a two-part assembly, we call this the back spinning and the front spinning. You can do this whole two-tone thing, and if you just go back to the cover page, I think where we score very highly as a company, and where a lot of our work and some of our more successful projects come from, is the lighting designer looks at it and thinks, oh, this is great, because it does everything I need it to do, and it isn't going to cause any kind of friction with the interior designer. Because looking at it one way, this is kind of decorative lighting, architectural lighting, it's some kind of mashup between these two conflicting worlds, what it does technically and the photometry side of it, and what it looks and feels like. This is a little bit bigger, so it's got more presence. You walk into a room, if I look at this, is a really cool jewelry store in London that we delivered last year. I really, this guy is so cool. The guy behind the store. Oops, let me get on the right. Oh, that's Moxie showroom in New York. So here we go. Alex Monroe is a really fantastic jeweler doing great work. This is an example of the two-tone finish where they're big units. You know, they're not minimalist. They've got presence. They're like, hey, I'm here, and I'm doing my funky stuff. So for the interior design people who are looking for how to get that sort of continuity through, for example, a whole store, and they want to get the look and feel kind of just right. That two-tone, that 799's there, that kind of two-tone, you can see the colour scheme here, right? We've got this back wall, there's a lot of plants. The quality of this light output is so significantly good. Growing plants is like, no problem, that's easy, you kind of might as well be. So that's that. Shall I move on a little bit? I'm kind of getting...
Hey, Stanley, I just wanted to actually point out here, if you go back to kind of a couple of those photos, obviously what we haven't hit on, and we'll get into reflectors, but the system that those Margos were on was called track pipe, which is your own power distribution system. And what you're looking at in those photos where you don't see the integral boxes is 48-volt track pipe. So you could see actually in that one photo, you could see the remote mount 48-volt power supply. And that allows you to do either the XTM or the XIM module, which is the Staccato Bluetooth module.
Yeah.
Correct? I can't remember if you're playing around with Kasambi yet.
Have done. It's not a standard product yet, but we've done a couple of projects with it. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know what they're like in the US, but it's a really emerging brand here. And,
we just did a project that up in Vassar where they ended up using Kasambi because was all old wiring, etc. And it was super easy to set up. So
it's incredible technology. So just to say a few words on track pipe, it's a pretty straightforward product. It's got the functionality of regular track. So you get lights that you can reposition. If you look here, these are little plugs and sockets, right? So they come out and you can move your light around. So if you've got a space that's going to change, retail or maybe hospitality, for example, it's got the functionality of track. Where it outperforms track is, number one, it's a steel tube. It's not an aluminium extrusion, which is what track is. So it's fundamentally stronger. So if you're suspending it on wires or rods, which is a really common installation technique here, you can get longer spans, 3 meters, without fixings. So if you want really clean runs, right, then this product will always outperform aluminium, because steel just is a stiffer material. Number two, the track was designed originally back in the day, I think in the 40s or 50s, around conventional dimming, right? So you get 3, 1, 2, or 3, however many circuits, where you've got your kind of adapter that goes in and locks onto a copper strip that's inserted into the aluminium extrusion. Works brilliantly for mains, but it's not so great for data, because the copper's exposed. You get degradation of oxygen and oxidization and dirt, grime and whatnot. I'm not saying it's a huge problem, but there are issues with data on track. It's a fact. Track pipe, it's wires inside, like proper shielded cable, that are meant for data transfer, and the plugs and sockets is a system that you get on robots and machinery. So it's really, it really locates when you push that socket in. You know it's located, and there's a little collar to tighten it up, right? So that's number two. And then number three, circular economy, of course, because it's not a composite material, it's just a steel tube with wires in it. It's more easy to dismantle and take back to its individual components. If it needed to be repaired, it can be repaired. So it is broadly similar to track, but got those 3 key advantages. The reason that people specify it, I think, anecdotally, is because of the look. If you've got an open ceiling and you've got that whole sprinkler pipe and the you know, the aircon, and should we just look at a few projects there and see if we can pick one up? You got the whole aircon on display. I mean, look at this place. This is a skate park in Sweden. Let's find a nice track pipe shot. There's an interesting one. This is a first, look, there's a sort of classic track pipe where you've got, it's literally right up there with the aircon and the sprinkler pipes and the plumbing and all the rest of it. That's a food place. It's pitched as being very sort of a very transparent place where people really understand like what the ingredients of the food are. It's kind of real good quality grub, and the sort of theme and the brand of that place is that everything's there to see. So the track pipe and the spot combination is kind of extending that idea into the lighting. I just want to show you what one project, very unusual. We don't do a lot of residential, but there is one on here, or there should be. Maybe that's on page 2. Just give us a sec. I love this place. It's Thorny Barn. It's a barn conversion. So there's a lot of agricultural buildings that were from the 1800s or the early part of the 20th century get converted into homes. You know, these are really spectacular homes in this beautiful Wuthering Heights countryside. And this is it's unusual for us to do residential. We don't do loads of it. But this guy just lives near the factory, and somehow he got wind of the fact that we were there, and what he got kind of sold on the whole story. And that's track pipe in a residential setting that you kind of wouldn't, you know, obviously there's no sprinklers and aircon and all the rest of it in there, but you know, it's a pretty versatile product. It still works. I'm going to have a quick look at pendants. They're fairly self-explanatory. Sorry, I keep getting RLM. Is that right?
Pendants is fine. RLM.
Yeah. RLM.
So these are the RLMs, and these are dimensionally exactly the same as the original lights that we took out of the factory nearly 15 years ago. Lives on in new forms, new materials, new photometry, new everything, but the basic geometry of it is the same. I'm just going to say a few words about exterior. So we engineer some housings for the Zicato modules ourselves, and that enables us to do a lot of IP65 work. And this project was one of my favourites from last year. This is a place called Somerset House. It's a really iconic building. Normally we're not like the go-to for these big kind of statement buildings. Normally they're the established architectural lighting equipment players. But this one, it was fantastic, and we managed to get a lot of these pendants in an outdoor setting, right? So that's an RLM with Zicato, but IP65, using a specially engineered product that replaces the standard housing for XIM. And replaces it with like a sort of sealed unit. So we don't do a lot of exterior stuff, but we really want to do more and really establish ourselves as a go-to for when people want outdoor lighting that looks right, because they want continuity. You know, this restaurant starts indoors, and then it goes to like covered outdoors, and then it goes to outdoors. But they've got continuity through the whole scheme with products that's doing the same business in terms of the look and feel of it, and also the photometry. That's all I got. That's what we do.
That's pretty cool. Now, a couple of things I was going to bring up product-wise. You've introduced Sora into the range, yeah. Correct? As kind of a little bit of a cost saver using their PAR 38 or PAR 30 lamp system, right? And that's available in the Margot. Is it available in the 99?
Not yet, but it's scheduled to be, and yeah. It's a significant project. The specification came along. We're a small company, and we're not a huge we're not a huge outfit. That I would say the advantage is that we're a very agile one. So we've got a new product development matrix. We've got 2 people working R&D full time, Neil and Connor. They're really great engineers and physicists. So they've got their schedule, and of course that's what they're working to and what they're bringing to market, and that's all of the products that I've shown you today have come through that process. It's really locked down. But then of course a designer or specifier engineer comes along and says, well, we want this other thing, and there's a compelling reason why you should prioritize it. And then of course that matrix can be rejigged, and that Sora is scheduled for the 99, but it's not scheduled to be next week or even next month. But of course the groundwork has been done to establish the viability of it, so everybody knows what's involved in making it happen. And if that or an inquiry like that came to life, we can just jump on it and redirect ourselves onto that. That's kind of the way we work. It's the way we've always worked. It's how we innovate and how we stay ahead. We listen to designers because it's a hell of a great resource in terms of like understanding where the market's going.
Cool. I like it. Hey, I got to ask one last question, and then we're at 1 o'clock, so we're kind of at our hour mark. How aware are you currently, not that the factory is that big, from the hotel rooms in the factory? Do you still have them up?
We got one up.
You got one up. Okay, you don't have the whole row.
No, we're mid. We got a new machine last year, a robot for I'll just show you this robot for doing like really fantastic engineering with cardboard.
Oh, look at that light setup you had. No wonder why you look so good.
Yeah. We built that. So this is a robot that we use for packaging. Look, this is a tool, one of our technician tool. Can you see that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a cardboard insert. And
Makes me very happy.
Yeah.
so this machine, can you see that?
Yeah.
It's a high frequency oscillating blade, like a razor blade that vibrates at 50 hertz or whatever. And you can just do incredible things with cardboard. So the pods that you stayed in when you were here, they were like handmade. They were really
I just always assumed you guys were just there with like the plastic scissors and tape, putting the cardboard together yourselves.
We're taking it to the next level now. So when you come back, Matteo or Elaine, Kevin, any of you, you were in 5-star when you came before, but you're going to be in maybe 6 or 7-star next time you visit.
Is that a rainbow on the window? I like that.
Yeah, that's it's a thing in the UK that where you put rainbows to I think it kind of means it's like sticking 2 fingers up to coronavirus and saying that we're still here and we're still alive and we're gonna keep keeping it on. Yeah. My kids painted it because there's no schools here, so the kids are at the factory most days. Lego. Look, this is our reception area here, which has been commandeered into Lego and toys and all the rest of it.
The alligator's still there. That's all that matters.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's been so nice talking to you lot.
Yeah, Stanley, thank you. Guys, if you have any questions, just shoot us an email. Reach out. Oh, yeah. Spotlight is. Oh, thanks, Kevin. Oop. Oh, I cut him out. Oops. My bad, Stan.
Opposite.
Yeah. There he is. Yeah. There you are, bud.
There we go.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Most people didn't see our little factory runabout.
I'll send. This is our gravity conveyor. I'll send you down it.
Yeah. That's a great way to fix it.
I really wanted to fall.
Hey, everybody, serious. Thanks for hopping on. Stanley, super informative as always. Thanks for sharing your story, talking about circular economy, giving us a little bit of update of the product. Hey, there's Sophie. Hey. It's good to see you.
You're live on TV in New York.
Yeah.
I wish I was there.
No, you don't.
Maybe not now.
Yeah. Next time, next visit. So
Yeah, good
cool.
to see you.
Good to see you, Sophie. Dan, thanks as always, man. That was great. We'll catch
See
you
you later,
soon.
guys. Thank
See
you
you,
so
everybody.
much. Bye-bye.